Maria, how are you?
I'm doing well. Daniel, how are you?
I have my screen set on gallery, but I'm going to put it on speaker because I want to look at that awesome office that you're hanging out in.
Thank you so much.
Is
I
it
love my
your
office.
home office?
It is my home office, Daniel. I've been lucky. Well, I'm not lucky actually. I am about to become an empty nester. So I have all this incredible room.
Wow, sounds lucky to me.
So I just decided, hey, I have this room. Why not use it as my home office? And so there's plenty of room. I have my equipment over there to exercise. So if I get a little, anxious, I can jump into the treadmill. My bookcases are over there, my plants. Yeah, that's something that I never had when I was raising three children. Okay. It was always toys everywhere. So I
Yeah,
have to enjoy this. I have to enjoy it.
absolutely. Well, it looks like it's a creative space where you can do a lot of great work, and I love how you respected that plant enough to give it its own stool. That is awesome.
Yes. Yes. I think I don't know if it's in Spanish, they call it lengua de suerga. So, I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. I
Mother,
can't,
um,
mother-in-law, tongue's mother-in-law. So I need to respect it.
yeah. Well, it's beautiful, and
Thank you.
thanks for joining me. And we're here to talk about this crazy idea you had to start a press. My God, why? There's so many presses in the world, and it's so much work. Why did you do it? What was the impulse?
Well, listen, as a writer, I have a backstory, of course.
Oh, good.
I knew what I was going to do since I was in fifth grade. I
Mhm.
knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to make books. So by fifth grade, I pretty much had my goal set. Um, it took me a long time because in the process of getting to become to this space right now, I became a journalist first. I raised a family. I got married. I did everything that I needed to do. And then I went into the MFA. And at that point, I realized, this is my opportunity to start a press. Now, I wasn't sure that I would be a good writer. So I said, okay, what are my options?
Are you saying that
What are my options?
you wanted to be a publisher first, and a writer just came next?
Right, yes,
Wow.
absolutely. Which is kind of different. Usually you're a writer first and then you become a publisher. But for me, I wanted to always create books. And thanks to my fifth grade teacher, shout out to Miss Collins, she gave me the opportunity to do so. So my first published book for my entire class was fifth grade. I was 10 years old. And maybe less, I don't know. It's been such a long time. I decided to do a book, and so I got a cardboard and then folded it, and then I did the cover with some wallpaper, gave it a title. I used I cut and paste poems. The first poem that I ever read was Langston Hughes. And so at that point, I looked at my book and I was like, I was the only one. I was the only one who did that kind of work that for our project, and it was our art project. So I've always seen books as works of art
Right,
for me,
right. Hmm.
and then I as I went um, high school and college, I started getting involved in public relations, writing. I worked for an awesome company where I had many clients who wanted marketing materials. So I exposed to the business side of marketing. I worked with the University of Houston Health Center. I worked with TechStot at the state level. And so I used to put projects together. It's almost as if I was being nurtured into the business. Like I had to learn the business. Did I really learn the business? No, because that takes time.
But
It takes a lot of time.
yeah.
And then and then I decided, you know what? I've been writing for everyone for like 15 years, marketing material. And I even started an MBA, which I never finished because once I got to accounting, I was like, I put the brakes on that one. And so that's when I decided, you know what, I need to do an MFA. And so I went and spoke to the director at the time, and he said, sure, why not? Let's give it a shot. And I said, sure, why not? Let's give it a shot. And so we did. And it was Utah. So you have no idea how I am so grateful to that program and how wonderful that program is, and just opening my vision and my horizons. And I think it has to do with the international part of it too, where you're working with a group of people, international and of course local, and then of course national. And so you start to see the world different, your perspective changes.
Well, yeah,
And
I certainly remember you when you were a student in the
yeah.
MFA program in creative writing. I think you had me for a couple of classes. But it's really interesting if you were a superhero and they wanted to do the origin story. I'm really surprised and fascinated that you wanted to be a publisher way before it was something that proliferated out of MFA programs, because now a lot of
Mhm.
graduates, not sure how they can continue to work as closely with literature as they did when they were taking graduate seminars or starting MFA publications. But you,
Mhm.
wow, you wanted to do this for a long time. So
Yes.
why Mouthfeel Press? Why that name? And why did you choose to open it when you chose to?
Okay. So, okay, of course, there's a backstory to everything as a writer. So I was, when I was in kindergarten, I
Wow,
I
you
had
really have backstories. These are New Yorker flashback backstories.
exactly. I mean, I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, we might.
Or
It's
origin
just
stories of
it's
superheroes.
just the writer in me. Okay. So I
Right.
remember.
I want to hear this. You were in
Okay.
kindergarten.
So I was in kindergarten, and we were taking a classroom photo.
Uh-huh.
And I was in the background, little short girl, second row, and I wanted to stand out, but I didn't know how. Everybody was, in in a certain position. There's school pictures like this, and really, okay, everybody. And I was like, no, but I need to stand out. How can I stand out? I mean, I'm in kindergarten. So what I did this. So when they took the picture, I came out like this, to the side, like this. Okay. So I have a school picture and everybody is upright, standing upright, looking serious. And there I am like this. Okay. So when that is just my personality, I wanted to stand out. So when I was looking for the name of my business, I wanted it to be something special. I wanted it to be different.
Mhm.
And so I spent about 3 years looking for the name, to be exact,
Right.
3 years. And so one day, I kept playing with different names. One day I was at a bookstore and I came across a calendar, the ones that have like different vocabulary.
Uh-huh.
But this calendar was interesting because it was a calendar of words that were never or hardly ever used. So I went like this, and there it was, mouthfeel.
Really? Wow.
Right. And I was like, it just like,
And it lit up
it just
around holidays
exploded.
in kindergarten and made you remember that.
Yes, it made me realize like I wanted to be different, right? I could have called it anything
Right.
else. I could have called it, more maybe, but when I thought about this, And then I also thought about the sunrises and sunsets in El Paso that you can never really fully describe in pictures. It's like, but it leaves in words, I'm sorry, but it leaves a taste. It leaves this lingering feeling of something just, like beautiful, gorgeous passing by. And at that point, to me, that was like a mouthfeel. Now, mouthfeel is referred to wine tasting, right? So
That's
when
why I
you,
like your press so much.
I know, isn't it amazing? I know. It's like, yeah, right, the one. Uh,
And
no,
I have a
so
reputation for liking wine, by the way.
so that's part of well, for me, that's it helps me to relax.
No,
But
that's
that's a different.
really
That's a
beautiful.
backstory. That's another backstory, and I
And
won't say.
but I love that everything, that everything you're doing right now seems like destiny coupled with your will and your focus throughout your lifetime. And I think
Yes.
that's beautiful. And you started this press.
Hmm.
What's the first thing or the most powerful thing that made you think, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
Well, I did not realize certain aspects about the that I had to do, the business side of it.
Right.
At that point, I was shocked that I had to do. First of all, there's a lot of preparation involved. There's a lot of preparation involved that I had no idea that I was supposed to do. Uh, Initially, now the press started back in 2009. Initially, part of my mission, backstory, when I was 14 years old, I wrote on my journal, I want to do something that will make a difference in my community. Okay.
Mhm.
I want to get to that point where I can help others. And I could never really find my place. I'm kind of shy. So I'm kind of shy. I'm kind of short. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so I decided that this was it. This was it. So I started with, I was not going to make it complicated. My goal was to stay on a path of, you know, less resistance, really. So I started with chapbooks, and some of the first chapbooks, which I have right here, are very easy to produce. I don't know if you can see them.
Mhm.
Okay, they're very easy to produce. This one is by Carolina Monsiváis, and they're a regular chapbook, gorgeous. I always consider this to be like the introduction. It's like giving your business card out. They're gorgeous. I've always loved it. So I decided that I was going to start with that and keep it at that. Well, pretty soon I received a manuscript that was just absolutely awesome, and it was full-length manuscript. And I thought, what do I do with this? I don't know what to do with this, but I'm going to do something with it. So I did. I published Irene Lara Silva, who Furia, at that point,
Oh, and
and I just
I had her on
okay.
the show on that book. It's fantastic.
It's a wonderful book. So the forms are different. I remember now, because of my background in publishing, and I also come from the old school, before computers, used to
Right.
cut and paste. But I also did a lot of the interior design. So most of the interior design is made by me. So I did not want anyone to touch that book.
Mhm.
I wanted to do it myself because the forms are different. And I wanted it to be precise, concise. I wanted perfection.
Right.
I didn't realize what I was getting myself into until I started the business part of it, the portion and the distribution. And then I realized, it's not just putting down, just creating a chapbook. There's also so much to the business that I had no idea. I wish I would have had that MBA at that point, but
Right.
that's the way it
And
is.
right now on your new website, which people can find at Mouthfeel Books,
Yes.
is mouthfeelbooks.com.
Mhm.
you say that you're a nonprofit. Were you initially a nonprofit?
Never.
But you filed the 501
No,
status, what is it, a 501(c) or something like that?
yeah, I have never been a nonprofit. I am not a nonprofit. The reason being is
Oh, so
because
you're not now either.
yes, I'm not.
Okay.
Not yet. Not
Nonprofit.
yet. Not yet. Depending on how things go, I will determine that at some point in time. Now, I have a team now that I did not have before. I have a commitment from my husband. Husband, if you're out there listening, who is going to be the financial and the distribution manager, and he does have his MBA, and has always been extremely good about uh, the finance portion of it, because I am an artist, and I really don't like numbers. It's not that I really don't. So I think I needed that support, and also I needed support from other folks or other people who have always been a little bit practical, and for example, Raquel Mejia, she's a publicist, and oh my gosh, she's incredible.
Right.
She keeps me on my toes, and so again, I can deal with the art, I can deal with the poetry, I can be the greatest editor you'll ever meet, or at least somewhat. But
I believe it.
I recently spoke to someone about that. They wanted me to look at their manuscript, and I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want me to look at your manuscript? Because you have no idea what kind of editor." Now, if you want me to help you edit, you're going to have to do these things.
Right.
Now, the thing is, Danielle, I'm also a teacher, so
But
it comes naturally to me.
let me pause you for a second. Speaking of being an editor, you are actually a freelance editor and have worked and are working with Arte Público Press.
Yes, yes.
And there's a book that you've been really promoting that you think is fantastic. Did you edit that book?
I don't know. I guess
don't
I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, the one about Frida Kahlo and the Virgin.
Well, it's not Frida Kahlo, it's Chola Salvation, yes. But I was part of it. I was part of it.
The title. I was talking about isn't it a character where Frida Kahlo walks into a
The Frida, yes, yes. And I don't mind promoting it. It's not that because I was part of the process, but it is because it's one of those books that I really, really enjoy reading. And even if I had nothing to do with it, I would have been enamored with that book. And I would have promoted, because that is what we do when we practice literary citizenship. We promote other people's work because we love it so much.
Can we get the full name of the book and the author? I want to promote this book too, because it seems like it seems very, it's called Chola Salvation, and who's the name of the author?
I'm trying to see if I have the copy next to me, because I almost take it everywhere. Where is it? I brought it in.
It is written by Estela Gonzalez. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that book.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I don't know, am I getting
for Arte Público? So you have a lot of experience with the manuscripts itself, and you're saying that you don't really want to put too much emphasis in your role on the business aspect. So somebody else will be doing that, because you just love the books. Right?
Yes, that's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. I don't want to be part of the business. And this is one thing, when we relaunched Mouthfeel Press, I said, listen, one of the things that we need to do is we need to concentrate on the business aspect, because Daniel, if we are going to be a great press, we need to have a business plan. Even if we are a small press needs to think like a big press. Okay, maybe at a smaller scale, but nonetheless, we do. And when I first started the press back in 2009, I I didn't think about any of these things. I didn't think about the business aspect. For me, it was just this passion that I needed to see books. I needed to create books. Um, but I didn't think of what was going to follow after you have book. Now, after so many years of doing this, I've realized where the gap has been and what we need to fill
That's
in.
good.
Yeah.
That's probably a very important thing, I guess, to
Absolutely.
learn, right?
Oh,
And
yes, it was a hard thing to learn,
when you
but
started out, you were doing these chat books, and then Irena Lara Silva,
mhm,
brilliant fiction writer and poet, gives you
mhm,
Furia. Well, of
yes.
course, do something with it, right? Um, then Mouthfeel Press disappeared for a while. What happened, and how did you and how and why did you start it again?
Well, okay, so it disappeared because I moved out of El Paso. And that was even when I moved to Huntsville, I still managed to publish some books. I think the last book I published was Carolina Monsivais' book, Descend, which actually won the Foco Tejas, the Foco Tejas Award, the next. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
National.
so that was a pleasant surprise. I also published Larry Lawrence Welsh chapbook. This one.
Lawrence Wells, good friend, El Paso
Mhm.
poet.
Yes, and then so so it wasn't the problem began. I started to struggle because I did not have the support I had had in El Paso, my literary community. And even though I came to Huntsville and Sam Houston State University, they were incredibly gracious with me. Ching and Chen um, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you're here. We want to make you part of the community. Come over and let's have a roundtable on publishing. And you can also write your own work. I mean, read your own work." And so I it was wonderful, and I thank her from the bottom of my heart. The problem was that I also had my children who were struggling to acclimate to this,
Oh,
this new culture, school systems, et cetera, et cetera. And so I had to make a decision.
yeah.
I had to make a decision. I couldn't spend a lot of time with the press, and I felt like I was doing a disservice at that point. However, it also gave me the opportunity to learn about the community, my new community, to do outreach, and to really focus on what I wanted to do next. And the thing is, I have carried publishing in my blood forever. So
Not
I
going
was
away.
like, it wasn't going to go away. It wasn't. What I decided to do is, like I said, I need a pause. Unfortunately, I did leave some projects behind, and I'm trying to work that with some of the writers already. If they're still interested, I am here. I reached out to other publishers in the process and say, hey, listen, would you like so and so's book? I didn't, you can talk to them about the rights. I mean, I didn't, because I did not know if I was coming back, even though I knew that I was going to come back eventually.
Right.
I just didn't want to leave them, in the air, just hanging. So I spoke to various presses, and I'm so glad that some of them really they got published by other presses. And speaking of Irene Lara Silva, her book is coming out of Flower Sun Press, Furia,
Good
along
book.
with the older, yes. So I'm very happy for her, and I think Rosie Evelyn Lima, Agua Camino, she also submitted it to another publisher who actually translated it into another language. And so I try to work with other presses, and I just didn't want to leave everybody, hanging, or felt like I had abandoned them. Because you know what, one thing that I've always was very aware of was to maintain those relationships with my authors. When we first started the press and the authors were publishing with me, we were like a family. I mean, we would go as a group to AWP. We would, we were a family, we were together. And so we did things together. And I didn't want them to feel like I had left them, because I never really left them.
Let's clarify what you're talking about for those who may not know what AWP is or what you mean by we went together. I'm assuming you bought a table in the book fair at AWP for Mouthfeel Press, and their book fair is huge. Thousands and thousands of people walk through it. So you sold the books and had the author sign?
We did. I did buy a table 1 year, but mostly we would do panels. We would do the panels together at AWP, and we would do panels at, I think we did one in San Antonio, University of San Antonio. We did several panels. When I was in LA, we were invited to read. So I invited all the the Mouthfeel authors from Los Angeles or from California to join me. I met many of them for the first time. So we worked as a community of writers. It wasn't just about the press, it was a community. I was trying to build a literary community.
Well, that sounds like you took care of your community when you had to go on hiatus. But can you talk a little bit about the moment when you knew you needed to restart Mouthfeel? Because you're coming back, and you're coming back, to use a cliche, with a bang.
Yes. You have to excuse me, I get very excited about stuff like this. But I did. I realized. So this entire time that I was out, I took care of my family. Okay, and I think it's very important that you take care of your family, you take care of yourself, because you know what? If you don't do that, if you don't take care of yourself, and if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be any good to anyone. Period. I don't care who you are. Okay, and we live in this culture where we are constantly told, if you stop, you're a failure, you're this, you're that. Well, guess what? You're not. You're taking care of yourself, taking care of what really matters. And I say that, yes, my press really mattered and the authors really mattered. But there was this aspect of my private life that needed to be taken care of before I continued. Now, the moment I decided, I really don't know when it happened. It was just, I just said, I just needed to start the press. I have been anxious about it. I have been thinking about the books.
When did you make the decision to come back?
About, I guess 8 months ago. I have been working on this for about 8 months, and I needed to plan. I decided that the best way that I could move forward also was to go back to school and get a publishing degree, a professional publishing degree. Again, I love writing, and but really publishing is my passion. So I want to learn everything there is to know about publishing. Otherwise, I feel like I am empty.
Well, that's good. So what do you have planned for the next 2 years in terms of titles, or going through submissions, and what is your submission process?
Okay, well, my submission process is I decided to stick to a schedule. Okay, before I was publishing, at different times of the year, and I think that's one of the things that it's hard to keep up with that kind of schedule, at least for me, because of my family and other things that I do, and my community work and my writing life. So I am doing a submissions guideline, and it's on mouthfeelbooks.com, and I will be reading March 1st through May 15th, and then in the summer I will take time to look at the manuscripts, and then I already have actually as a teacher, we're really good about stuff like this. Okay.
I gotta put on my glasses.
Okay, so I have my schedule, my publishing schedule, okay, which is year one. I will read the proposals, accept the proposals. I will talk about we'll start looking at the editing portion of the manuscript, what needs to be done in the manuscript. And we'll start with the design, which is the cover design. If you don't have the cover design, you are going to move into, you will have less opportunities to do your marketing. So you want to have that cover like right away. That should be like the number one. And then the design is being, the cover is being designed, then you go into the editorial portion of it. And that's where you work with the author. I usually ask the author once I decide on a book, if I want to accept it, I usually ask the authors, hey, how do you feel about editing, editorial? Or some authors don't like it. Some authors feel like the work should stand as is, and I respect that very much. But sometimes it's just little things like, hey, let's add a section, or let's move this poem here to the front. So it's, and then we talk about a contract, and then at this point, we do the marketing plan. Okay, that is where my marketing person is going to come into the plan.
You're going to market before the book is available.
It's a marketing plan. How are we going to? Yes, it's a marketing. You have to have a marketing plan.
Are you going to actually start marketing the book before the book comes out?
Yes.
How long before?
It's about a 6-month period. You want to build anticipation.
Absolutely.
You want to build anticipation about the book. You want to be able, that's why the cover design should be ready.
Got to be awesome.
It has to be awesome. You have to, and then we disseminate the design or the cover, and at that point, we do the marketing. Now,
who has final choice on the cover? The final choice.
No.
Who does?
Okay. Now, this is one thing that they can expect from any writer who comes with Mouthfeel Press, and they will tell you I'm very flexible about the cover, because I think as a writer, we're also artists.
Right.
So we know more or less what we want to, we envision our cover even before we finish the book. We're already thinking, at least that's what drives me.
Right.
So I usually ask them, do you have an idea of what you want to do with your book? What you want it to look like? And they say yes. And do you have art from someone that that you want to approach? If they have the art, then I have my cover design, my graphic designer, Sandra Salas, who goes in and works with the cover without compromising the art itself. And we usually ask the artists if, also how much can we use the art. So I'm very flexible about that. And most of the covers were chosen by the authors. Most of them were. Some of them say, I have no idea. Maria, can you do that? So for example, this is a chapbook, and this is by Liliana Valenzuela. And this is a painting from Liliana Wilson. And so again, we do that. And again, I'm flexible on that. I think my covers ultimately my covers have a little bit of the personality of Mouthfeel Press, colorful, professional. And and that's one thing that I think that's where it's important to build that relationship with the author, and that makes them feel comfortable, because oh, great. I have known presses that decide, oh, that's it. This is your cover, period. Right. And I have a problem with that. I understand you have the aesthetic of the press, but luckily, if you want to start your independent press, you are independent to do what you want to do without following the crowd.
Right. Without following traditional models of publishing. I want to ask a question about your marketing phase. There's this marketing guru named Seth Godin,
Hmm.
and he wrote this book called Purple Cow. And,
Hmm.
and what he's basically saying is that if you're going to start up a business or any kind of startup, and he's not talking about publishing specifically,
Hmm.
uh, although mostly he's talking about publishing, um, he says you need to have a purple cow. What are
Yeah.
you doing that is so different from everybody else that it can't be replaced? It's something new. And I'm wondering, does Mouthfeel Press have a purple cow, something that you do that you don't think any other presses are going to do or are doing or will do?
Well, the purple cow, is that what it is? Define the purple
That's
cow. Something different.
the metaphor and call it the hairy chicken. It doesn't matter.
I like that one. I like
Yeah,
the
okay,
purple
hairy
cow
chicken. What's
concept.
a hairy chicken?
Uh, okay, well, I think that one of the things that I do as a press is, and I build relationships with my authors. I think when you work with a larger press, you don't have that ability. You know,
Right.
you don't have that one-on-one ability to talk to your authors, to get to know them, to ask them questions about the work. You know, a lot of the times that submissions come in and it's like, okay, they're great, but you really don't know who they are or what, you know. So I think for me, that relationship is super important. I think that's what makes my press stand out, maybe perhaps from other presses. I'm not saying that not that other presses are not doing it, because I'm sure they are, but everybody has their own way of doing things, of approaching people, of talking to them. You know, some of these authors have become my friends. I mean, they're my lifelong friends now,
Right.
and one of the greatest supporters of my press. And I can tell you, for example, one of the books that we first published also was Laura Cesarco Eglin, and she's one of my greatest supporters. And she started her press, which I am really happy about. And I want,
Release Press.
Belize Press, absolutely.
She's Release Press, and you guys are friends. You went into the MFA program at the same time.
Yes, we were together at the MFA program. I love her poetry, and I had been talking about starting a press. And so because I love her poetry and I love the way she thinks and I love the way she processes information. She's very strategic. I knew that
Oh,
I was going to receive something. Oh yes, absolutely. There you go.
this is a poem, a book of poems, Llamada al Agua por su nombre, and it's actually even translated. It's a
Yes.
wonderful book. I've been reading it.
Hmm.
Fantastic poems.
It's this one. This is
Yeah.
the Spanish version. And again, the cover was chosen by her.
Mhm.
And so I work with that. I mean, it's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful book. Even the size, she decided on the size. So that's something that I work with. Now, you know, I like to get to know my authors, and I talk a lot. So they probably like, oh, stop. But okay.
I don't think anybody would think that talking to you, especially when you do your backstories. Those are.
I got to do I have a lot of backstories. I have a lot of backstories. So I need to write probably an essays on backstories.
When you talk to people,
Hmm.
and the conversation, sometimes I like to have questions prepared. Mostly, I
Sure.
like to see where it goes. But one of the questions that I had prepared that you know, I'm going to say that I'm not going to ask you it, but I am asking you it by bringing it up. But the reason why I'm not formally asking it is because the question is, if, let's say I was an Irena Lara Silva, or I
Mhm.
was uh, uh, a writer who had a book out, who had a book
Mhm.
and wanted to send it to a press, and you
Mhm.
loved it.
Mhm.
And this person also got an offer from Arte Público Press, from
Mhm.
University of
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, for other presses. Why would you? What would you tell the author if they said, "Why should I go with you, Maria?" And the reason why I say, well, maybe I shouldn't ask it, because it seems like you've already answered it, because you're going to develop a relationship with them, and
Mhm.
what they're going to get from you that they can't get anywhere else is your absolute love for their work.
Yes, yes. And that is one thing. Look, you are going to get my absolute love for your work. That and I will try my my hardest to meet your needs as a writer. And but I will tell you something, um, that if a book, if they can publish with a bigger publishing house, I always encourage them to do so.
Why?
Because as a writer myself, I understand what writers want and need, and that is readership, and that is perhaps a little bit more money for marketing, which I might not have, you know. And for me, it's about literature and spreading and disseminating our literature as much as possible. Okay.
Mhm.
I will encourage them to do so. If they have an offer from Arte Público Press, go with Arte Público Press. Okay, maybe they might meet your needs.
And you might be
Um,
their editor anyway.
I don't know about that. After this, I don't know about that. But I love Arte Público Press. You know, interesting, you know, Arte Público Press for me has always been a dream. It would
Uh-huh.
be like the dream come true for me as a writer. And I am so happy that I haven't published with them, but I'm part of their, you know, editing. And I don't know what is bad, you know, what is even better. I mean, to write for them and be an editor. I don't know, you know. Um, Either way, I love Arte Público Press. I've always loved what they've done and how they have built a years and years of publishing wonderful books. And so I'm just happy to be part of that process, you know. Plus I get to know, you know, the editorial content, and every press works differently. That's one thing that I've learned.
Right.
You know, even even using a comma, you know, I forgot the name. You said you were going to help me. The
A
comma,
com-
the Oxford comma.
Oh, I said I was going to help you on that.
The Oxford comma. You know, where, look, I'm really adamant about Oxford commas, and some presses are not. You know,
Right.
even though I was trained as a journalist in the beginning, far back, you know, we never used Oxford commas in journalism. I do in literature, I do, but other presses don't care about it. So, you know, everyone is different. You know, everyone is different. So I get to have a little taste of how everybody works.
I remember when Mimi Gladstein and I were getting together the manuscript for the Burciaga selected works that we put together called Last Supper of Chicano Heroes.
Mhm.
One afternoon, we fought for about 2 hours about a comma, and it was a nasty fight. We almost didn't become friends after that. And of
Yes.
course, I was right.
I found this actually I found this wonderful book, and he's actually an editor with the big guys, and so I try to follow his you know, editing, his preferences. I feel like, hey, you know, I'm a little guy, but I can still use your methods, you know. So
So let me ask you, what, now that you've started Mouthfeel Press, what is new and what is going to be new?
okay, I'm going to tell you, and this is where the excitement, where I'm very excited. We have first of all, I've actually have an editorial team now that I did have in the past, but again, it wasn't, because I still had that mentality that I was just going to publish chapbooks.
So
You
who's
know,
your who's your editorial team? Let's
okay,
do
so
a
my
shout.
editorial team is, well, my editor is Susan Kitts. Now, Susan Kitts is a linguist, and she's a grammarian, and so she takes care of the technical stuff. She's the, you know, the one that will come after you if you don't have that Oxford comma. In fiction, I understand poetry is a totally different, you know, totally different way of handling forms and punctuation. But she is wonderful at that. She's also my editor, you know, my editor. As a matter of fact, she's editing one of my books right now, and I'm kind of like nervous about it because I know she's going to come after me, but she's beautiful. My Spanish editor is Dr. Juana Moriel.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yes,
She was
Yes.
an MFA graduate here at UTEP as well.
Oh, yes, yes. And she actually won some fiction awards in Chihuahua, and she's now teaching creative writing and at a university. And so she's always been one of my biggest supporters. And okay. And then of course we have Sandra Salas, who is a one of my wonderful designer. She not only designs books, but she also has this wonderful, she's very involved in the community. She does a lot of programs for the community. And so Sandra Salas, who is the business name for her is Creative Gong, which is interesting. I would have never thought of that. But to me, that was like, okay, I love that. Okay, so, and then we have for my finance and distribution is my husband. Now, he's a guru in finance, okay? And I wouldn't, he has an MBA. So I think it's time for him to really, do what he does best. We had a long talk and I said, look, I want you to be part of this. This has been my dream forever since I was a little tiny girl. And so so we need to make this work, okay? We need to make this work for me because this is my dream. Let's make this work. And so, fine. Now, I also have Raquel Mejia, who has been in business for many years, and she has done public relations. She has an MBA. She's the guru of public relations. So I trust her 100%. I do have readers that I am doing.
She's part of the business side as well.
Yes. Pardon?
Raquel is.
Oh yes. Oh yes. 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 So one thing that I would say is if you are going to start your independent press, you do need to surround yourself with people who know the business aspect of business.
And I personally think if you're going to be successful, period, you should with people who are smarter than you.
Well, you're right. We don't know everything. We like to think that we do, but we don't. I mean, I know my deficiencies, and that is one of them is business,
All my friends are smarter than me, and I love it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's what I love. So you surround yourself with people who know a lot about a lot of things that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And that is how everything is successful, and you surround yourself with this incredibly smart people, and I've been very blessed, I guess, that I have found some wonderful friends to do that. Now, back to your question. I'm sorry. Okay, so next year I do have 2 books coming out. I can't say right now which books they are because I haven't signed a contract and I'm not ready to announce. But I also, in the process, while I'm waiting for that to happen, there's some books that I still have here that I will go ahead and do a second edition. And for example, fire starters, and there's several books so I have to do outreach to the authors and say, listen, do you still want to be with me? If so, I am willing to, I'll do a second edition. We'll go ahead and do the same, we'll do we'll do the contract.
But you haven't done that yet. You haven't had that conversation yet.
With some, I mean, I have published 30 people. Right. So some of them I have already, we're in the process of doing that. We're in the process of doing that.
The new book that's coming out.
Pardon?
The new book that's coming out.
Okay, well, we have a poetry book, and then we have this exciting book that is going to be totally different. It is a chapbook, but it's going to be a different kind of chapbook.
It's like a Harry Chicken chapbook?
A what?
Like a Harry Chicken.
It's going to be a purple cow chapbook. That no one, to my knowledge, has done this type of work yet.
So tell us what is
I'm not going to say.
Come on, Maria.
I can't. No, I can't say it.
All right.
I'll give it away. It has to be a surprise. It'll be like the big thing, and we'll even have a conversation about it. And it's going to be an interesting book. I'll just say that it's interdisciplinary. Let's just put it that way. And so we're going to be using some of, but it's going to be great. My husband and I and my business partner, he's now my business partner. we've been talking about expanding our press to other I guess audiences or markets, and hopefully by the end of 2022 we'll have that in place. I can't say again right now because I hate to, but I think we're going to be expanding into the educational field. As a teacher, I have seen the need for certain materials that are required and that we are missing in our classrooms. So I think that would probably be the bread and butter of our press. So that is really exciting for us. And that will help us to continue to publish poetry and fiction. And of course, I'm very excited with my new team and my business planning, and that I think is going to make a difference, so much more difference in the way I approach publishing. And lastly, I am very excited about my new, I have a cat, so I'm going to be, I'm very excited about my degree in publishing. I think it's going to fill in the gaps. So if you visit my website throughout the year, you might find something interesting, like, oh, now she learned this. Oh, wow, now she's doing this. Yes.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with
Thank
Mouth.
you.
I love your passion and how everything you do has a story.
Yes, that's a writer, right? A
And
backstory.
for me, it gives me more hope for the press than if your answer of why you started a press would have been, not that it's a bad answer, but as if it would have been, what else was I going to do?
No.
And that would be a good answer too, if anyone
Yes.
does do that, although I haven't heard that answer in talking to 3 independent publishers. But I support your press, and
Thank you so much.
also keep in touch. Let us know what we can do. I also support independent bookstores, which are more and more rare. Independent presses, there's a bunch of them, but independent bookstores are so rare. So please shop if you're in El Paso. Thank you. Please shop at Literary Bookstore right here in El Paso. They have books by Mouthfeel Press. They have books by Flower Song Press. They have books by
Feliz. Feliz
Feliz Books.
Press. Yes.
Feliz Books.
Yes.
And check it out. It's an amazing store, and we support that. And we support your press. Maria, do you mind if the team takes over and brokers a few questions?
Okay. Thank you so
much. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Claudia.
Thank you for being here. So we do have a couple of questions. So the first question is from Mavi Kelebek, and the question says, what is one of the most important challenges small publishers share?
Okay. Some of the challenges I would think is reaching your target audience, first of all. Okay. Small presses, we do not have the marketing backup that maybe the big 5 do, or even mid-size, especially private small presses. I mean, everything is out of pocket. So this is where we rely heavily on our authors also to help us with that. The other thing too is, of course, the distribution. I think that is a challenge. We have found out that I think 75% of the books, say at the big, stores that I'm not going to mention the name, 75% are taken by the big 5 publishing houses. And so 25%, I imagine, are mid-size and small presses, and I don't know who else. So we do have to find distributors, and we do have to do a lot of legwork and build relationships with our bookstores. And of course, marketing. And again, we go back to a lot of it also, when you are publishing with a small press, then, expect to do a lot of the work and that's why I go back to the relationship. I don't want to give anyone high expectations about, oh yes, we're going to make you famous or we're going to have all this money. And because what, if that is the case, then, try a big press, the big five, they're the ones that have the money. But we have the relationships and we have the love and we have the passion. And not only that, but we publish works that those presses, those big five would never, or don't want to publish, because they're more mass produced. So we take over those wonderful authors who have wonderful ideas.
Awesome. The next question is by Vincent Cooper, and it says, is Mouthfeel publishing Chicanas only, or is it open to all Black, Indigenous, and people of color?
Oh, we are open to everyone. Okay, and my press has always been, I relish diversity. I think it's very important. I mean, we have books from not only Chicanas, but we also have books from African Americans. We have books from people of, everyone. So I think for me, it's important. My whole mission or the whole vision of Mouthfeel Press is to support authors that have something important to say, that can contribute already to literary, that will contribute new ideas or contribute to the dialogue that is going on in our climate, in our recent climate. So yeah, I don't know. It's not just Chicanas.
It's good to know. It's good to know.
Oh, absolutely.
The next question is by Julia Quintanar, and she asks, what qualities do you think someone should possess to start a publishing business?
Well, what qualities? Okay, well, I think first of all, you have to have a passion for books. You have to have a passion for reading. You have to be very patient. I think Lao Cesarco mentioned that this is a process. It's a process. You learn just like writing. If you're a writer, you know that there's a process. You're going to have, you have to go through the process of learning to do things. And the reason being is that there's not a lot of, it's not like you can just jump into publishing and learn everything you have to learn. No, and things change. Technology changes. So you also have to have vision. What do you want to do? What kind of audience? Who's your target audience? Why do you want to start a press? Then you have to find the right people who believe in your vision and your mission. So you have to surround yourself with people who really know things that you might not know. So again, your literary community. So.
Thank you, Maria. We have another question from Juana Payne. She says, Maria, I want to ask you if you will continue focusing on publishing women, since it was one of the aspects I personally admire from you and your press.
Yes, initially, I that was the idea, and I don't know if there's a press that publishes women exclusively, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if I just published Chicana women, because we don't have the forums, we don't have, the opportunities. And so that was the initial mission of the press. But I have found out that really it's just, there's many of us, and regardless of male, female, gender, we need that space, that place, that forum to publish. So whereas I am still committed to publishing Chicanas and females, and my press is open again to, and will continue to publish, great works, which is really what we're looking for. I don't, doesn't matter if it's female or, so, but thank you, Juana, for the question.
Thank you. We have another question from Almendra. She asks, what strategies can I use to increase readership and help market my book?
Okay, well, the first thing is that is very interesting because as a writer, I find myself always asking that about myself. What can I do? What can I read? What can I do? The first thing is, of course, that, you know, the first thing that I would say is literary citizenship. And that is you have to support and promote other authors' work and support bookstores and support your local community, literary community, because they will be the first ones to support your work too. So you could say it's almost a soft, way of approaching readership. You also have to know your audience. I think sometimes as writers, we say, well, I'm just writing for myself. But the truth is, you are writing for an audience. Ultimately, unless you're going to keep your writing to your, and never publish it, then yes, you're writing for yourself. But if you are thinking of writing for an audience, then yes, you have to nourish that readership. Social media is a great way of increasing your readership. And what I mean by that is you're not telling them buy my book, but what you are, you establish yourself in the social media, and they get to know you. And so that's really a great way. And of course, you work closely with your publisher. Now, if you are being published by a large publisher, then of course, you're going to have all the marketing money that will help you reach that readership. But if you don't, then you work closely with your publisher and see what you can do together to increase that readership. So that's what I would say. But number one is be part of a literary community. That will be your greatest support, and they will disseminate your work and also be part of the dialogue. People, when people become writers and you want to make a presence in the writing world, we are not, and I'm talking as a reader, I'm not only interested in just buying your book, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know what you have to say on your Facebook page, what you think about certain things, So for me, that is very important. And it's not just the name, it's also building that relationship with your readers that will carry on through your entire career.
Okay, thank you. We have one last question. This is from Jimlyn Amato. And the question says, what would you say to a writer who cannot decide on which direction to take their work? Fiction, non-fiction? Do you feel that is important to have a sense of where you fall in the canon?
Okay. So most writers start off with knowing what they want to, what direction it's a matter of taste. And again, it's what you read. I read a lot of poetry, therefore I consider myself a poet, right? And so, but I also love fiction. And so what I would say is you start off with that one passion. If it's poetry, then start with poetry. If it is fiction, then start with fiction. Because what I have found out as a writer is that the more you read, the more you realize how the genres really call you. Right. I have been writing, I have a manuscript that is being looked at right now that is a multi-genre, and again, I'm very open to moving, but if you are going to write, then read first before, read first and learn the craft. And the only way to learn the craft is to write. It's like a little cycle to write and read. So if you're struggling with that, ask yourself, what is it that I'm reading right now? What is it that I love to read? And that's probably where you want to start. That's where your genre might be.
Well,
I don't know, Daniel, what do you think? You're a writer.
About how to promote your work?
No, about how to, when you're having doubts about what to write. You want to be a writer, but you like John. Yeah.
Question ago, wasn't it? Yeah, this question about the genre. Yeah, if you as an editor, and you get something and you're not sure if the writer knows whether it's not poetry or whether or not it's prose, I would probably just say, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll find a way to market it if you love it.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lot of books that are not choosing a genre. We got the Cuatli Q Girl from Gris Munoz, which is fiction and poetry. And so
Yes.
just create your own genre and don't worry about it. It's
right. And that's what it is. I mean, that's what it boils down to. If you want to be a writer, just, write what you love. One of the things, remember, I mean, Toni Morrison said she wrote the type of book that she wanted to read.
Right, absolutely.
So do that. Write the type of book you want to read.
Right. And if Maria Maloney, the publisher of Mouthfeel Press, falls in love with it, then you have an advocate for the rest of that book.
I'm all about difference.
Right.
It's going to be different.
You should get every one of your authors to post on their social media.
Like this, right? Can you imagine your little girl? Can you imagine your little girl coming home with her classroom picture, and she's the only one doing this, and everybody's why? My mama asked me, why did you do that? I wanted to be different. Quería hacer algo diferente.
Oh, you didn't say, because someday I'm going to start a press called Mouthfeel.
There you go. Hey, you made a connection there. Absolutely. I tell you.
Well, everybody, thank you, Claudia, for and Ileana for hosting. Sergio, I think, already left. He had an important appointment. I think his crack dealer was coming over. Be there, of course, because if you miss him, you won't see him again until like midnight.
Who knows?
Maria, you are so fun to talk to, and I wish.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
In about a week or so, a little over a week, on August 11th, we're going to do this one more time, and we're going to have 3 publishers at the same time answering more or less the same questions. It'll be you, it'll be Laura Cesarco Elgin, and it will be Edward Biaurde of the 3 we've already talked to. So thank you, and we wish you the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being on the show, and thank you so much for this forum and this space.
I'm Daniel Chacón for Words on a Wire. Goodbye.